Have you ever noticed your dog coming closer when something about you feels different? Sometimes they notice long before anyone says a single word. You may stay quiet for a while, but somehow your dog suddenly pays more attention. There are days when sadness changes small things about the way we move, and our dogs often notice those changes immediately. Sometimes they stop what they are doing and slowly come sit closer beside you. What feels invisible to other people is often very visible to your dog. They notice far more than we imagine. And strangely, this often happens before family or friends notice anything unusual. Your dog reacts much earlier. Most people think this is simple affection, but there may be something deeper happening. Dogs spend every day quietly observing the humans they love. They learn our patterns over time. Even small changes in your breathing can mean something. Sometimes silence itself says enough. And when enough small changes appear together, your dog often notices immediately. That is usually when they come closer. Your dog spends far more time watching you than you probably realize. Even when you think nothing important is happening, every single day, they quietly study the way you move through familiar spaces. And over time, those small habits become deeply familiar to them. They know how fast you normally walk through the house. They know the rhythm your body usually follows. They remember the way you sit down after a long day. They notice the way you naturally move without even thinking about it. To you, these small routines feel completely ordinary, but your dog has been quietly memorizing them for years. So when even one small detail suddenly begins changing, something immediately feels different to them, and their attention starts shifting toward you. Maybe your footsteps sound slightly slower than usual. Maybe your body language suddenly feels heavier than normal. You may think nobody around you can notice those tiny changes, but your dog has already been noticing patterns for a very long time. After months or years of quietly observing you every single day, those differences become impossible for them to ignore. So when your dog suddenly watches you more carefully than usual, that moment rarely happens by accident. Something about you already feels different to them. Sometimes, sadness appears long before we ever speak about it, and often our face begins changing first. Your dog spends countless hours looking directly at you every single day. They know your expressions better than you realize. They recognize the face you make when you feel relaxed. They remember how you normally look when everything feels fine. So when even the smallest expression suddenly changes, something immediately feels different to them, and their attention quietly begins shifting. Maybe your eyes stay fixed in one place longer than usual. Maybe your face suddenly feels emotionally distant. You may not notice those changes happening yourself, but your dog has seen your normal expression thousands of times before. Even the smallest tension around your eyes can mean something. Dogs notice details we rarely think about. A quiet face often says more than words ever could, and dogs learn to read that silence very well. Sometimes you do not need to cry for your dog to notice something is wrong. Small emotional signals often appear much earlier. That may be why your dog suddenly begins watching you differently, because your face has already told them something changed. Sometimes your body begins changing long before your mind fully understands what you are feeling, and often those changes happen very quietly. You may sit still longer than you normally do, without even realizing your body has already become different. Your breathing may slowly become heavier than usual, and the rhythm your dog knows so well quietly begins changing. Even small physical changes can create signals we rarely notice ourselves, but dogs often notice them immediately. A room can suddenly feel quieter without anything obvious happening, and somehow, your dog seems to feel that change too. Sometimes, sadness first appears as silence, not in words, but in the way your body suddenly slows down. Your dog has learned the patterns you repeat every single day, so even tiny differences can quickly stand out. What feels normal to you in that moment may already feel unusual to your dog. Something about your energy has shifted, and when enough small signals begin appearing together, your dog quietly becomes more alert. Their attention naturally moves toward you. That may be why your dog suddenly stays closer during difficult moments. because your body may have already revealed what you have not noticed yet. Sometimes sadness does not begin with tears or words. Sometimes it begins with silence. A room can suddenly feel very different when your emotions quietly begin changing, and dogs often notice that shift immediately. You may stop moving as much as you normally do, and the entire atmosphere around you begins feeling different. Dogs spend countless hours living beside us every single day. They quickly learn what our normal energy feels like. So when that familiar energy suddenly changes, something immediately feels unusual to them, even when nobody else notices anything wrong. Sometimes you do not need to speak at all. Silence itself can already reveal a great deal. Your dog may notice that you are unusually quiet, or simply behaving in ways that feel emotionally distant. What feels like an ordinary moment to everyone else may already feel completely different to your dog. Something important has shifted, and when enough subtle changes begin filling the space around you, your dog often starts paying much closer attention. That may be why your dog sometimes comes closer when everything around you suddenly becomes quiet. There are moments when your dog notices something changing long before anyone around you does, and that often happens much earlier than people expect. Family members may still think everything seems perfectly normal, but your dog has already started paying closer attention. Sometimes the people around us only notice emotions after we begin speaking. Dogs often notice long before words ever appear. They are not waiting for explanations the way humans do. They react the moment patterns begin changing. A quieter room can already feel unusual to them, even when everything still looks completely normal on the outside. Your dog has spent countless hours learning who you are every single day. That makes small emotional changes much easier for them to recognize. Sometimes the first reaction comes from your dog, not the people closest to you, and most owners never stop to question why. Your dog may quietly move closer without making a sound, simply because something about you already feels different. And while everyone else continues treating the moment like nothing changed, your dog has already noticed the shift. That may be why dogs often respond to sadness long before the world around you ever understands what you are feeling. Not every dog simply watches when something feels wrong. Many dogs choose to respond in their own quiet way. Sometimes, the first thing they do is move a little closer than usual, as if distance suddenly feels less comfortable to them. Some dogs may stop whatever they are doing and quietly come sit beside you, without asking for anything in return. Others may simply remain near you much longer than they normally would, almost as if leaving no longer feels right. This behavior often looks simple from the outside, but sometimes it carries far more meaning than we realize. Your dog may not fully understand sadness the way humans understand sadness, but they can recognize that something important has changed. And once they notice that change, many dogs begin adjusting their own behavior naturally. They respond in ways that feel instinctively right. That may be why some dogs place their head gently against you during difficult moments, not randomly, but intentionally. Sometimes comfort does not need words. Sometimes presence becomes the way they choose to help. And maybe what feels like ordinary affection is actually something much deeper. Your dog may simply be trying to stay close when you need it most. Maybe all this time, you have been seeing these moments in a much simpler way. Your dog comes closer, and you assume nothing important is happening. But perhaps your dog noticed something changing long before you understood it yourself. Sometimes they see things we never stop to notice. They have watched your face thousands of times. They have learned the rhythm of your body and your daily habits. So when even the smallest emotional change quietly begins appearing, something immediately feels different to them, and their attention naturally begins shifting toward you. Perhaps that is why dogs often stay closer during the moments we need comfort most. Not because they were asked to. Sometimes your dog may notice sadness before your family notices it. Sometimes even before you fully understand it yourself. They may not understand emotions the way humans understand emotions, but they understand when something about you has changed. And once they notice that change, many dogs simply choose to remain close, as if presence itself becomes their way of helping. Maybe what looks like ordinary affection has always meant something deeper than we realize, something instinctive, quiet, and deeply connected. So the next time your dog suddenly stays beside you during a difficult moment, pause for a second and look at that moment differently, because perhaps your dog was never simply staying near you. Perhaps your dog understood you long before anyone else did.